Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument is a very interesting area that protects both the canyons of the Escalante and the Grand Staircase, which we'll talk about in just a second. It sits on 1.8 million acres of land, which is among the most remote in the entire country. As a matter of fact, the land that the National Monument now sits on was the last to be mapped in the contiguous United States. No joke. Arguably the thing that Grand Staircase-Escalante is most well known for is its variety of incredible slot canyons that unfortunately, like so much of the park, can only be accessed via rough, non-paved roads. Since we didn't have a four-wheel drive vehicle on this trip, this was something we had to pass on, but I look forward to exploring them in a future visit. Some examples of slot canyons you may want to see if you visit the monument are the Zebra Slot Canyon, Spooky Slot Canyon, Peekaboo Slot Canyon, and many more. The other most well-known aspect of this place is the Grand Staircase itself. This is an immense sequence of sedimentary rock layers that stretch south from Bryce Canyon National Park through Zion National Park and into Grand Canyon National Park. It's a very complex landscape and I'm not going to get way into the specifics of it, but if you'd like to learn more, here's a pretty cool map that showcases Grand Staircase and all of the individual parks and other locations situated atop it. By looking at this, it really starts to make sense how southern Utah could have so many unusual canyons and slot canyons. Now, during our short visit to this enormous national monument, we were limited to spots only accessible by pavement. Therefore, I was tempted not to make a video on this place at all. That was until I found out about something very different about this national monument. Contrary to most national monuments which are administered by the National Park Service, Grand Staircase-Escalante falls under the Bureau of Land Management, which means there are less regulations placed on businesses and towns located within or right outside the monument's borders. Point is, we got to try some absolutely amazing cuisine in the Escalante area that I felt like I had to share in a video. This video will be different from most on the channel as it'll basically be half nature and half food. For breakfast on the morning of our stay, we got to check out the Wild Indigo Cafe. This is an amazing food truck that made its debut earlier this year, located just north of the main Escalante Canyons area of the park. It's open daily from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., but they do have an off-season that spans late November to early March. We were lucky to visit in early November right before they were getting ready to close for the season. On the menu are culinary options inspired by Indian street food and classic American-style breakfasts. Think homemade chais and unique cardamom maple syrups. My brother got a chai and we both ordered the French toast. With apple butter, this was among the best French toast I've ever had. We enjoyed it so much that we ended up ordering another French toast to share and one of their waffles as well. I really liked this too, however the French toast really stood out as one of the best breakfast foods I've tried, period. I'd highly recommend this spot before tackling one of the hikes in the area. Speaking of which, that's what we'd be setting off to do next. On its own, the scenic drive through the National Monument located right in between Bryce Canyon and Capitol Reef National Parks is stunning. The giant rock formations and canyons made me feel like I was on some sort of alien landscape. Now, there's two well-known hikes in this section of the park that you can each get to with a two-wheel drive vehicle. One of them is to Escalante Natural Bridge, which is an absolutely massive arch formation accessed by a 4.4-mile out-and-back trail across several creeks. Since we knew we'd be seeing lots of other arches on this trip, we vouched to skip this one and save it for an inevitable return trip. Instead, we did Lower Calf Creek Falls, which is a 6.1-mile out-and-back hike through the canyon. This one does not require you to get your feet wet, but does take place along a creek for the majority of the hike. Now, in order to experience this trail, there is a $5 recreation fee that must be paid on a trust system. An alternative option is to display your America the Beautiful pass, which is something that we had. The hike itself is mostly flat with just 531 feet of elevation gain throughout the entire trail. I'd consider it a pretty easy hike and it's quite engaging too with how beautiful the scenery is. Since you follow a creek for the majority of the way, there's a surprising variety of flora that's been able to grow and flourish in the canyon. The rugged nature of the landscape, along with the remoteness and lack of crowds that come as a result, made this feel like the first truly wild place we visited in Utah up to that point. One of my favorite things we got to see on this trail were the butterflies and fish that were in or near the creek. It was so cool to see these up close and vividly too. Then, when we finally made it to the waterfall, we had it all to ourselves and were blown away by how something like this could exist in Utah. Lower Calf Creek Falls is one of the tallest waterfalls in the state at 130 feet tall. It also might be the tallest in southern Utah that flows on a consistent basis. In addition to its size, the waterfall has a very peculiar shape to it and is boxed in by two canyon walls on either side. I think the fact that this thing is in the desert makes it all the more impressive. If it were somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, it would be beautiful but overshadowed by all the other waterfalls of the area. Here, since there are so little waterfalls in the area, this stood out to us and alone made us more curious to explore this national monument in the future. That same day, we went to another food spot, this time a proper restaurant. This is Hell's Backbone Grill and Farm, located in the nearby town of Boulder. The place is known for its improbable success as it's located in such a remote area, yet has performed shockingly well. It's won a variety of awards, including the selection of Outstanding Restaurant by the James Beard Foundation, a first for any restaurant in Utah. On the menu is a variety of Western range and Southwestern flavors. I was able to try their lamb burger and was blown away by it. This would most definitely make my list of the top 5 burgers I've ever tasted if I had one. The sheer flavor and variety of flavor is amazing in this thing. We also ordered their apple cardamom pie, which was delicious as well. Keep in mind that this restaurant also has an off-season that begins in late November. Overall, the food was hands down the most surprising thing about the Escalante area. It was the best food we had on the entire trip and some of the best I've had in the country. In addition, the nature around here is breathtaking and I know at some point I'll have to come back and explore more. Let me know in the comments if you've been to Grand Staircase-Escalante National Monument and what you'd recommend on a repeat visit. Also, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe to Travel Dash so you don't miss any content like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye guys.